And this is your boy Dev of War Room Sports.
And this is Brachiosaurus.
We'd like to welcome you guys to episode number 256 of the War Room. In this episode, we do our initial NBA Finals preview. And I say initial because we know we got about 7 days left to analyze this. To see Chase's two favorite players, LeBron James and Steph Curry, go at it. So we talk about that, but before we do, we had special guest, the mad scientist of sports, Nick Ficarelli. He came on to talk with us about the FIFA corruption scandal. That's a doozy. And we basically caught you up on everything important, to us at least, that's happening this week in sports. So like I always tell you, get your popcorn, sit tight. Episode 256 of the War Room starts
now.
Peace out.
Talk Radio.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev,
You.
Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the hot block commander. Give it to you how you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topics, sorta like some rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerate to speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4 for 26, so the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.
What up, sports fans? You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports on that WRS Podcast Network. I'm Devin McMillan. I'm at the round table with my bro, Jimmy the Blueprint Williams. The NBA Finals are set, and we're going to break them down for you. We'll also talk about the FIFA corruption scandal with Nick Ficarelli, the mad scientist of sports, and a whole lot more. So keep it locked right here. And if you want to get in on the live conversation, just join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/the War Room. Or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can also call us directly in about 40 minutes and give us your NBA Finals pick when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech hotline. That number, as usual, is 323-410-0012. But before we get started, make sure you remember to make the War Room Sports Podcast Network a part of your work week. When we're not live on the air, visit warroomsports.com and click the WRS Podcast Network tab at the top of the page. Or you can listen on the War Room Sports mobile app or on iTunes. You'll find some of the best shows the web has to offer, such as the Broad Street Line with Roy and Chris, After Further Review with the Mayor, the Tissue and the Tape Hip Hop Show with Phil and Savad, Sports Trap Radio with Brandon and Anthony, the Mad Scientist Sports Lab with tonight's guests, Nick Ficarelli, and a whole lot more. You can also check the listings over at fatsradio.com. That's PHATZ, radio.com for air times of all your favorite WRSPN sports shows, including our show, The War Room, which airs over there a few times per week. What up, King Jimmy Jaffer? What's going on, bro?
What's up, good brother? Man, you know, I'm just trying to stay out of trouble. I'm trying to be the anti-Ray McDonald right now. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I hear that brother's tripping again, man. Crazy thing is, man.
Yeah.
We're running a 2-man ship tonight, and I've been handling some family business all week, man. I don't know a damn thing besides the NBA Finals of what's going on in sports this week. I'm hearing little things. Man, I don't know why they happen. So,
yeah, we're gonna delve into what's going on with everybody, man. NBA Finals is definitely like upon us, and it's funny because we love basketball so much that even though like you running around handling family biz and whatnot, you still know what's going on in them finals, though. You know what I'm saying? Because that's that thing of ours.
Yeah. No doubt. I could talk basketball in my sleep. You know, everything else, once you tell me what's going on, I'm definitely going to have an opinion on everything. So,
absolutely.
That's how we do. We ain't got B. Austin here to break down the educated brother from the Banks take on everything. So, I'm going to have to take up the slack.
He's in Somalia trying to help the people get water, man. So, shout out to B. Austin for doing what he has to do to, save humanity, man. But it's time to talk about what happened while these folks were on the ground, good brother.
No doubt.
And for those who don't know, While You Were on the Grind is brought to you by DirecTV. If you'd like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, which includes the NFL Sunday Ticket, just go to our website, warroomsports.com. Click on that DirecTV logo and order a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have DirecTV. It doesn't matter what it is, college, professional, DirecTV has it. Now, man, we just mentioned this one gentleman, man. Let's talk about this, man. Ray McDonald was arrested twice, not once. What LeBron say? Not once. No, he ain't that far, not 8 times, but he got arrested twice in a 72-hour span for violating terms of his restraining order. Now, just to give you a little idea about Ray McDonald and his nonsense, his restraining order stemmed from a charge of domestic violence and child endangerment for allegedly assaulting a woman while she was holding a baby. Now, real quick sidebar. You know how when you say allegedly, you do like the hand quotes? Even though we're on a radio, I'm still doing allegedly like the people could see me, so I just wanted to put that out there. But listen about Ray McDonald. Back to Ray McDonald. This was his second domestic violence arrest in the past year. Charges weren't filed on his first one, which was August of 2014 when he was a member of the Niners. He got picked up by the Bears, and the Bears did face criticism for signing him. They were trying to give him a second chance, and they got rid of him as well. They released him, but
they
the
released
Bears
him
basically
this
said
week
in a
after
statement.
the stuff.
They said in a statement that they said in a statement they were trying to give him a second chance, but he wasn't able to meet the standards. I mean, the Niners released him right after his name came up in a sexual assault investigation. What's wrong with this dude?
This time was, I'm reading that he assaulted a woman while she was holding a baby, allegedly, like you said, allegedly. So yeah, and the Bears released him like 6 hours after his arrest. Like, I think Ray McDonald, Jim, I think he was real lucky the first time around because the charges were never actually filed. The 49ers stood by him throughout the season, and he didn't go through the same type of stuff that AP, Ray Rice, Hardy, he didn't go through all of the things that they had to go through as far as missing games, because the Niners actually stuck by him because they were figuring, well, if nobody proves that he did anything and if no charges are going to be filed or if he's not going to be indicted, then we're going to stick by our player. So like you say, he got a second chance from the Bears, and then he gets arrested twice in a matter of 3 days for the same type of alleged crime. Like, I don't want to just put the brother out there, but sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire, man. What's wrong with it?
Yeah, man. Like this stems from someone having talent at a young age and was always allowed to get away with things, man. It's either that or it fits into my Tupac theory. And my Tupac theory was, Tupac was a very talented artist, but once he got shot and survived, he turned into someone else because at that point he thought he was invincible. And we all know how Tupac's life ended. O.J. Simpson falls into the Tupac theory. O.J. beat the case, and instead of just falling back, he ends up getting arrested for trying to steal back his own memorabilia. Like, sometimes when you get a second chance or a second opportunity, man, like, you got to just steer clear of everything and everybody that can put you in any sort of trouble. I don't know the young lady or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, like, you have something to protect. So once you realize you have something to protect, you have to move accordingly. People say, I gotta be me. I gotta keep it real. Like, keeping it real is staying employed. What's more real than that? So that's what wish to you, Ray McDonald. Like, you're embarrassing, man.
Remember the boy on the movie Brown Sugar? Like, man, if you want to keep it real, you can go to Rawkus. Over here, we keep it profitable.
Yo, what we have to say this, Ray McDonald, man. You should be ashamed of yourself. He definitely gets the JoJo Award, or he's a JoJo Award nominee, or let's just say he gets one of the JoJo Awards, because we know that these athletes act so crazy that during the course of a show, we're liable to give out, anywhere between 1 and 50 JoJo Awards. But like that gentleman right there, man. Listen, man, if you get a second chance, you got to take advantage of it. That's all I'm gonna say, man. It's like when I went to college, Dev, and I know you can relate to this one right here. Here's an analogy for you. I ruined my credit so terribly because Discover gave me a bunch of credit, and I ruined it. Job. So, no job, right? I ran the credit up. You know what I'm saying? I was killing them. You know what I'm saying? Fresh tins every week. I didn't realize I had to pay for it, but once I got that credit back right, I'm not gonna be Ray McDonald, man. So just those out there listening, man, don't be Ray McDonald, man. Don't be Ray McDonald. Man.
Shoot, speaking of that, Yo, I took my first ever cruise and a trip to Cancun on Discover, and he never got paid for that. So that was a free trip.
Yo. Crazy part is here's the crazy
Double
part
jeopardy.
about it. Like I went through,
They can't put it back on my report.
Yeah, I got everything straight. I actually have a Discover card now, man, because I wasn't Ray McDonald. You understand? So I think I'm gonna change it from my Tupac theory to my Ray McDonald theory, man. So don't be Ray McDonald out there. That's the gist of that story, man. Let's talk about something else. I don't know if you would consider this a second chance or what, but Michael Sam,
Not really.
popular for one reason. He signs with the CFL's Montreal Alouettes. What the hell is Alouette? Is that like Aloysius play for them?
It don't sound like something that should be in any football league, I tell you that.
Not at all. Maybe that's a Canadian thing. Shout out to all the Canadians that love us because we do mess with Canada heavy. Shout out to Toronto.
It sounds like a team that he should be playing for. The Alouettes.
The Alouettes. Yo, my question is this Michael Sam getting on his road to being back in the NFL, or is he officially done with the NFL?
I don't know, man. I mean, I definitely think this is going to be an extended, like, training camp / tryout for him, because I'm sure NFL teams, if anybody's standing out in the CFL or any other organized professional football league, the NFL will take note. But if I was to make the call, I would basically think that he was done in the NFL. He's just we've always talked about it. He's too big. His situation is too big of a distraction for his talent level at the moment. So unless he goes up there and just absolutely turns into a beast, and his talent, begins to become commensurate with his distraction level, then you might have something to talk about. But he went into this. They introduced him at the press conference. He got a 2-year deal with them, and he went in there saying the exact same things. He says that it's all about football, because they tried to remind him at the press conference that Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier in baseball, wasn't the first black dude to play, but I'll give him credit for breaking the color barrier, because after he did it, more followed. He got his start with with playing in Montreal and Jersey City, because remember that was like their affiliate, their minor league affiliate, before he went up to the big squad. The Dodgers. But he said, I don't want to, I'm not trying to do anything historic. He doesn't care about being the first openly gay professional football player. He's just here to play football. But we've heard all of this before, and we saw how he tried to cash in on being the first openly gay professional football player. So we'll see if his concentration and his focus is where it needs to be to get to where he wants to be. We'll see if he means it this time. I mean, if he comes out next week and he's on Big Brother Canada, then we know he was just talking smack.
And by the way, shout out to Moses Fleetwood Walker, who definitely was played Major League Baseball way before Jackie Robinson. Yeah. And it's funny that you brought him up. I'm actually reading the book now. I'm reading one of the notorious sports books, but it's actually an excellent book. The $40 Million Slave is one of the books I'm reading now, and it's like a little whole chapter on Moses Fleetwood, and basically he couldn't put up with some of the things that Jackie put up with. So Jackie was like the right guy at the time. He was willing to put up with stuff so others could follow behind him. Moses was like, yo, I'm out.
Plus Moses was way before him. So I don't even think he had the same structure. I mean, Jackie had a little bit of protection. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So yeah, Moses came in that John, slavery was, some people was still in bondage at the time. I mean, we're still in bondage right now. But that's either here nor there.
They just don't know it, but
yeah. But in terms of Michael Sam, man, he finds a way to keep his name out there. Whatever he does makes news. It's just crazy, man, because I wonder, right? Because it was a big deal made out of him and Jason Collins. But when people who live an alternative lifestyle, and shout out to them, they try to make the analogy with race and sexuality. Now, I'm not going to get into the debate whether that can be made or not. But when you look at some of their firsts, they're just not successful. So I wonder whether these people will actually be remembered, or will they go down such as a Moses Fleetwood Walker? We have another guy who's, a gay man come out and be successful in terms of playing, and we will never hear of Michael Sam again. Or will Michael Sam's name always ring? Who knows?
Yeah. I'm just wondering.
But we'll see what happens.
Can you call him the first? Because he never really, you know what I mean? Well, I found out what found out what an alouette is. It's actually, it has two meanings. It's a French word, of course. They get their French on up in Canada.
Yeah.
But it's a small ground dwelling songbird, typically with brown streaky plumage, a crest, and elongated hindclaws, and with a song that is delivered in flight. And then it's also a word for like children's songs up in France. I don't know. But
that's soft.
I don't think anybody should be naming their football team. You're supposed to be macho and masculine.
We think of like stuff like a raider or a bear or a lion.
Yeah. Like I already find the Cardinals. I already find that like highly suspect. They're trying to make a really soft bird look mean on the helmet. Like Cardinals don't frown. Cardinals don't frown, and Alouettes sing. So, do you really want to be on the Alouettes?
You look at the American teams, like they're just extra tough for no reason at all, like a lion or a bear or a Viking. They're on the same division. How about that? Then the Packers had to ruin it, fudge Packers. Anyway, it's funny though.
I might rather be an Alouette than a Packer.
Now I'm gonna put this out there, right? I've read this on several blogs this week. This is a rumor going around. The rumor is that Russell Wilson is actually one of those guys, and this relationship with Ciara was like put together basically by their management to help her career because she has an album just came out or something, and he needed a beard. And the funny thing is, I laughed when I first saw it, but then I saw it on like multiple sites. I'm like, well,
but that could be the perfect cover for somebody like that because remember there was rumors that Ciara was a tranny, so I mean,
yeah, that's true too.
So he could be getting the best of both worlds in this deal. But
all I'm saying is that is true, man. If that is true, live your truth. If it ain't true, pay it. If it isn't true, Russell, don't pay it no mind, man. Don't even say anything. But the fact that I saw it on multiple blogs mean it will come back up again. Who knows what the truth is, man? But live your truth, whatever it is. Who cares? Now, another story. Johnny Manziel, who stayed in the news for all the wrong reasons, he's now being mentored by LeBron James' right-hand man, Maverick Carter. Maverick, who owns the marketing firm with LeBron, is trying to do his best. They represent Johnny Manziel, but he's also trying to help him off the field as well, just stay out of trouble and navigate his career. What do you think about this? Because, Maverick is LeBron's old head, only a couple of years, but the one thing that never gets mentioned is the fact that, we talk about LeBron for this stuff on the court, but off the court, LeBron really gets in no trouble. He does everything the right way, even if it is all fabricated. The fact of the matter is, I'd rather him fabricate than be caught out here on his Ray McDonald. And Maverick Carter has a lot to do with that. Do you think it's possible to help Johnny Manziel, or is Johnny Manziel too far gone?
Well, he spent 10 weeks in the rehab center, inpatient rehab. And they say he's been hanging with Maverick ever since he got out. I don't know. I'm not just going to give Maverick the sole credit, but I don't know if there's a better camp to actually be with if you're trying to, do the straight and narrow and be a good business person off the field and get your game right on the field, have time to concentrate on that and still do other things. I don't know if there's a better team to be with than LeBron's team. I don't know if they're ever going to put the same kind of focus on another athlete that they do with LeBron, but that's one thing we always give credit for. Like you said, LeBron knows and his camp knows that everything can be flipped, to be favorable to him. Like a lot of things that LeBron does outside of basketball, I think is pretty contrived as means to craft his image and his people, that I give them credit for doing that because in the world that we live in, that stuff works. It's easy to fool people into thinking that you're somebody that you might not be as long as you tell them and as long as you seem sincere. So I think, Maverick being his old head, the funny thing is these dudes aren't even that old and they're mentoring cats already, but that just shows you how successful they are. I think it could only be a good thing for Johnny Manziel. The question remains is, even if they get him on the straight and narrow, can the dude play football? Because if he can't, then
and the thing is,
going to work.
That's exactly part of it. Part of it he has to be able to produce on the field, which is still up in the air at this point. What's interesting is I listened. Jason Whitlock did like a full profile on his podcast with Maverick Carter. It was interesting because Maverick made a lot of great points about how what they were able to build. Even though LeBron was the catalyst, and it kind of never gets talked about. He says it doesn't bother him at all, nor does he worry about it. But the fact of the matter is, like
them
you see athletes with entourages that do all the wrong things, but it's never highlighted that these guys are young guys, African American males who they've built basically a brand and established a business because their marketing firm represents several other people, and they have positive income, and they've pretty much built the business as young African American entrepreneurs. It never gets highlighted, but
right.
If they went and did something crazy tomorrow, oh my God, it'd be on the front page of every paper. So they don't get enough credit. But in terms of Manziel, I think you made the best point. It has to. He has to produce on the field for everything else to work with him. So
right.
We'll see what happens with that.
Right.
But
you have to give LeBron's camp his. First of all, like I said, they're young guys. They aren't guys who've been in this for years and years and years. But you have to give them credit. Like a lot of people might point to the fact, like, okay, you got LeBron James, so it's easy to get into this position. True indeed. But with a guy like LeBron James and them being as young as they are, it's just as easy to get into the same position on the negative side. You know what I'm saying? Because Absolutely. You have the guy who's the face of sports right now. You have so much money at your disposal. They could be knuckleheads and, they could be getting their Allen Iverson type entourage on. But these were positive, exactly smart brothers who use LeBron's fame and fortune to go get further educated so they can flip his fortune into billions when the dude is done. So you have to give them credit, even though, how they got in was the easy way. But a lot of cats wouldn't have taken that way. They would have just spent the money and been flashy. And these dudes are smart, man.
It's funny, man, because one of the things that, like, I've heard a lot of mentors of myself and also just reading books, a lot of people who are successful financially say, like, it's not about making the money, it's about keeping it. The hardest part is keeping it. And we see what happens to a lot of these athletes once they get in there. You know what I mean? So I definitely salute them for that. Now, in terms of Johnny Manziel, we'll see what happens. But it's better. I guess it's better to see him rolling with that team than anybody else, like you said, because they're about their business. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can say what you want to, but like a lot of these guys are. And shout out to Ray McDonald, who's gonna be my punching bag for the rest of this show. A lot of people are like Ray McDonald, who don't know how to stay out of trouble. But you roll with the right team. Put yourself around some people that's going to get the best out of you. So shout out to Johnny Manziel for at least trying. Now, what happens in the field will determine the rest of his career. Like you said, that was the greatest point. But it's all a good sign. So shout out to Maverick Carter and him. We'll talk about LeBron later in the show, obviously. But let me get into this last story before we give some birthday shout-outs, man. Venus Williams, we haven't heard from her in a while. She got fined $3,000 for snubbing the media after her first-round exit at the French Open. Now, she hasn't been playing her best. And this isn't her first time just snubbing the media altogether. So the question I have is it over for Venus, or is this a big deal, or is much about nothing, or what?
I mean, see, when you compare her to her sister, Venus fell off a long time ago. Like you said, this is her second opening round loss in 3 years at the French Open. So it seemed like a salty thing. I mean, and that's what makes it look worse. I mean, like, I'm not mad at you. Everybody's entitled to be a little salty in their career at some point. You're mad that you lost. Everybody's not happy to go have cameras all in their face after they just took a first round L that you're just not used to taking. Like I said, she doesn't have the wins, as of late that Serena has, but she's still good enough to not be that person to be losing in the first round. So I can understand the salt. On the other side, I understand that it's a mandatory press conference. It's an obligation. So I understand the fine, but what's 3,000 to Venus, and her legacy is already cemented. So she's not going to be judged off this for the rest of her life. So I don't see
it's
it
funny
as that
because
big of a deal,
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If she like basically gave the interviews and like she didn't care about winning, then that would have been like the narrative that came out of that. She loses in the first round and it doesn't really bother her. The fact that she showed some emotion, like now that's the story.
The press conference.
Yeah, so it's like she can't win anyway. So So
I mean, this happened in 2010 when they lost in Wimbledon in the doubles joint, and they both didn't show up, so they were fined $4,000 then. So they're ultra competitive, so they're not trying to go smile in your face. They ain't got no Riley Curry to sit there and entertain everybody while they salty.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Shout out to Venus as well, because people forget just how dominant and good she was because of her sister. At one point, she was the better of the two.
Right.
And
at one point, little sis couldn't beat her. She used to meet Venus in the finals, and Venus used to spank that ass.
Yeah, pretty much. So shout out to Venus, man.
All right, Vino. All right, well, let's do some birthday shout outs. Let's see who's having a birthday. All right, everybody, y'all know the drill. The birthdays are brought to you by Digital Extreme Technologies. Do you or your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence. Top quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. Financing options are also available. Visit digitalextremetech.com or call 267-205-4203. And for discounted rates, be sure to tell them that War Room Sports sent you. And a quick thing about our sponsors at Digital Extreme Technology. Our website got hacked. Something awful. We had like 121 files, crazy files in our site, and it was down for a few days. And the people at Digital Extreme Technologies worked diligently to do what they had to do to get those files erased and get our website back up and running. So we definitely want to give a shout out to the people over there. And if you guys want that,
know who it was that tried to hack our
customer
site
service. Too. Oh yeah, You know what happened?
Hakeem Olajuwon's people. Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. In the face. They was mad at that when we played that soundbite. But shout out to Digital Extreme.
Don't take that personal. Don't try to get us no more. Leave us alone.
Y'all want that same kind of customer service, man. Definitely go to digitalextremetech.com. Tell them War Room Sports sent you.
It's my birthday. Yay!
Birthdays. We got a lot of them today, and I'm pretty sure there's like 60 more if Casey Mack is on Twitter listening. But Michael Orr turned 29 today. Shout out to Michael Orr. You know, he had that great American story. You know, poor kid from the ghetto, adopted by a white family, turned him into an NFL pro.
It's like his game went downhill ever since then.
Yeah, he was better, you know, before the hoopla.
Before the movie.
He was better in college. Came to the league, and he's good. He's all right, but he's not that dude. But,
oh, yeah. He's all right. I'm just saying.
He's all right. He's not real. We got a Disney movie now. I think it was Disney, so he good for life. Shout out to Johnny Peralta, who turns 33. These are my baseball shout outs right here, because Johnny Peralta and Daniel Cabrera has a birthday today. Daniel Cabrera turns 34. Ronald Curry, former NFL quarterback, wide receiver, and just all around athlete from the Hampton Roads area. I don't know what they do down there, but they turn out some athletes. They may not be fundamentally sound and not really know how to play the sport that they play. Shout out to Mike Vick, Allen Iverson, Ronald Curry, but they churn them out down in Hampton Roads. They're eating something different down there. Ronald Curry turns 36. Glenn Rice, the great NBA sniper, turns 48. Shout out to him. Ben Howland, basketball coach, 58 years old. Kirk Gibson, now MLB manager, but we all know him from the home run, the Dodgers highlight from back in the day, with him running the bases. He turns 58. Shout out to him. Jerry West, former GM and former star and NBA logo from Jimmy's own Los Angeles Lakers, turned 77 today. Jerry West, old as hell. Lou Duva, still alive and kicking, Jim. Lou Duva, famous boxing manager and trainer. Lou Duva is 93. He
died like 20 years ago.
I thought Lou Duva was long gone. But we are going to get into some rest in peace shout outs. And this is a brother who went too early. Former Sixer. My man used to rock the Gumby. Rest in peace to Armin Gilliam. He was born May 28th, 1964. And died July 5th, 2011. I forgot how he died, but shout out RIP to Armin Gilliam. RIP to Jim Thorpe, the decathlete from way back in the day. He was born May 28th, 1888, and died March 28th, 1953. We got some other birthday shout outs. I can't forget about my partner, one of the generals, Jimmy the Blueprint. Birthday was yesterday. Shout out to you, man. Happy birthday, good brother. Happy birthday, King.
Appreciate that, man. And shout out to all of our fans too, man, because family and friends always, show you love. But I had a lot of people who I don't know from anywhere but this podcast, like send me tweets and Facebook messages and the like. So shout out to our fans, man. I definitely appreciate the love.
No doubt.
Also, real quick, Dad.
Oh, all right.
You probably getting ready to say the same thing I'm getting ready to say. I would say one of our loyal supporters'
Skyview?
birthday is today, man. Definitely
No doubt.
got to give a shout out to Skyview Kevin, man. Skyview Kevin supports the War Room and everything we do. So we want to wish that brother a happy birthday, man.
And Skyview is in the chat room right now, too. So salute to you, Skyview Kev. Happy birthday, good brother. And we wish you many, 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 many more. All right. So now that we got those birthdays out of the way,
My
special
birthday,
ed,
yay!
we like to one more time just give everybody a nice big War Room salute on their birthdays. But what y'all can do right now before we get into these hot topics, we should be expecting the mad scientist of sports, Nick Ficarelli, in a few minutes to talk to us about this whole FIFA thing. You guys can check out our website, warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our company newsletter. Click on the Contact Us tab to send a message about our company, our show, or to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities, or about joining the network if you indeed host your own show. If you want to host your own show and you think you can do this, holla at us. For general inquiries, email us, info@warroomsports.com. While you're browsing the website, though, make sure you click on the memorabilia tab. We got some cool t-shirts and merchandise. Click the blog tab to read our latest articles in the All's Fair in Sports and More blog. Then you can click the respective icons and tabs that are to the right on the front page, to like our Facebook page, to follow us on Twitter, to subscribe to our iTunes podcast, to watch our webcast at War Room Sports TV, to listen to the WRS Podcast Network, and to download our free War Room Sports mobile app to get everything I just mentioned right there on your phone or tablet. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show at blogtalkradio.com/the War Room. To enter the chat room, just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't want to create an account, you can sign in through your Facebook and Twitter accounts. And while you're at it, click follow so you can get updates and reminders about the show. We'll be taking questions and reading posts from Facebook, Twitter, and the chat room during the show. So to call in and speak with us in about 15 minutes after we talk to the mad scientist, you can dial the Digital Extreme Technologies hotline at 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. Probably in about 30 minutes, we'll definitely be taking calls because we want to get everybody's picks and analysis, your predictions, whatever you think is going to happen in the NBA Finals, even though we got a whole 7 days before it starts. We'll actually be on the air again prior to the start, but there's no analysis like initial analysis. We can change our minds as the week goes on, but we want you guys to call in about 30 minutes so we can talk everything related to the NBA Finals. All right, so let's get into some hot topics. But Jim, before we do, let everybody know who Hot Topics are brought to them by.
Absolutely. If your schedule is too hectic to read as much as you want, try audiobooks. Kick back and let someone else do the reading for you. All you have to do is visit Audible. You can do that by going to audibletrial.com/warroomsports. And, you can get you a free audiobook. I just finished a book called Extraordinary Ordinary People, which is the biography of Condoleezza Rice. It was an excellent book. And I'm getting ready to start a book called People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, which is a long-ass book. I saw the book, and the physical book was long as hell. So I said, let me get the audiobook. And I realized the audiobook is like 34 hours long. It's long as hell, but I'm jumping into that book, so that's my next read. But you can get any of these books for free. And like I do anytime we talk about Audible, the greatest audiobook of all time is Mike Tyson's autobiography. So definitely go get that for free. If you don't want to keep the service, that's fine, but you can get a free book, audibletrial.com/warroomsports. And we want to thank Audible for their support of the War Room.
No doubt. So let's get into some of these hot topics. And then when we get the mad scientists on the line, we can flip over to that whole FIFA situation. Let's go to the NFL for a minute, because Adrian Peterson, there's some things going on with him. The Vikings basically said either Adrian Peterson is going to play for them or Adrian Peterson is not going to play. So that's where they are with it, because this was kind of, Adrian Peterson, he was absent from the Vikings OTAs. Now we know how, the fans, the media, we always make a big deal out of this, but technically OTAs are voluntary, but I guess it's one of those unwritten things. They say that they're voluntary, but you're really expected to show up, because I know here in Washington, they were making a little bit of a stink because Deshaun Jackson didn't show up to OTAs. And then that night they saw him front row center watching the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. So he wasn't even like tending to some family stuff. Like your man was out there, doing his thing. So, yeah, with Adrian Peterson, he said that his absence had nothing to do with his whole contract situation. He's just asking the Vikings to honor his 7-year, $96 million deal that runs through 2017. He claims that's all that is, but he said he has every intention. The Vikings said they have every intention of paying Peterson the $12.75 million that he's due. He's just waiting for the report and let things go back to normal. So what do you think of this situation? Because there were the rumblings throughout the offseason that AP might end up with the Dallas Cowboys. The draft came and went, and there was no deal made for him. The Vikings, like they're saying right now, like either he's playing for us or he's not playing. So you think they're serious?
It's funny because I've been thinking about this. I don't know who has the leverage here. And the reason I say that is because it's like AP, with everything that happened to him, you know what I mean? Like, everyone knows the story, so there's no need to really get into that. But you haven't played in a year, but then again, like the Vikings, I don't know who has the leverage here, but it's ridiculous. I honestly think the Vikings may be better off moving away from him. If they're going to like try to nurture this quarterback into being a player, to move away and take away the binky, so to speak. But at the same time, you want to get something for him. I don't know. And the thing is,
if he plays with AP, it depends on his maturity level because it could help him because it takes pressure off him. But like you said, it could be a binky situation, and he could just totally regress because they're leaning on Peterson too much.
And when you get into a situation where you start to get contentious with a player like that, I don't know if you ever can, rebound from that. Like, is it, I don't know how you can ever repair that relationship.
Right.
So
right.
It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Well, speaking of repaired relationships or whether it could ever be repaired, and this isn't one that necessarily has to be repaired because these guys are no longer working for the same organization. But Chip Kelly finally came out and addressed LaShawn McCoy's comments and kind of like implications that Chip Kelly might be a racist. And basically, what he said was, I've got great respect for LaShawn. However, in that situation, I think he's wrong. I've talked to his agent and told him I'd talk to him at some point in time. And they said, Chip Kelly did reach out to Drew Rosenhaus, but he hasn't heard back from LaShawn McCoy yet. He went on to say, I'm not governed by fear of what other people say. I understand what my beliefs are. You start chasing perception, you've got a long life ahead of you. I kind of respect what he's saying. I mean, this is a real serious implication, and a lot of people are easily swayed. So when people start to, like, oh, Shady might have a point. Shady might have a point. Like the perception of you from these people might not ever change. So he's basically saying if you spend your life chasing and trying to repair what certain people are going to think of you, no matter what you show them, then it's just going to be, you're just going to have a long, miserable time, trying to defend things that you probably don't have to defend. So I can understand him on that. And we spoke about this before. I don't necessarily, from what he's from the reasons that they're giving, I don't think that Chip Kelly is a racist. Now, like I said before, Chip Kelly could go home and be the biggest racist that ever lived, within the privacy of his own walls. And we may never know that. But for the reasons that they're implying that McCoy and Stephen A. Smith, the reasons that they're implying that he's racist, like, I don't buy that. Show me something else. Now, you might be, but show me something else.
I agree 100% with Chip Kelly. But my thing is, that's why you shouldn't have addressed it at all. So I get your point, but I wouldn't have said anything at all. Let that man say what he's going to say. But I mean, at the same time, you do want to defend yourself, but you don't like he said, you don't want to get into a situation where you defend yourself against nonsense all the time.
It's,
You know what I mean? But the whole thing got to chill. Like, I mean, at this point, you guys don't work together. You're in Buffalo. You're in Philly. Like, this whole thing has got to stop.
Yeah, I mean, because LeSean McCoy is at a point. Check that G chat. LeSean McCoy is at a point where, you know what I'm saying, we haven't heard this guy talk about the Buffalo Bills yet. And he's a member of their franchise now. You know, he got a nice little contract extension from the Buffalo Bills, but every time we turn, he's still talking about the Eagles. So, I mean, we can understand he really wanted to be a part of that Eagles organization long-term, probably for his career. So, you know, you can understand somebody being a little bit bitter, but at some point, you know, it's going to have to, and maybe it will, you know, once training camp starts and he can focus on being the best Buffalo Bill he can be, you know, maybe he will go ahead and do that and all of this stuff will end. But Chip Kelly, you know, it's something I didn't necessarily feel that he 100% needed to address it, but it's good to know that, you know, he's there. He has a pulse, you know, say something. This dude is like slandering your name. But even if what you say is, I'm not going to be sweating what other people say, then that's probably enough. So shout out to him.
I mean, I get that point. But the thing is, like, it's like, you know, the same way I don't get mad when athletes like leave teams or steal money or super team and all that, like, because it is a business. So these athletes have to realize that this is a business. So Shady got to basically get over the fact that you're not an Eagle. I understand it's where you want to play, but this is a business, man. So Michael Jordan once played for the Wizards. So if Michael Jordan can play for the Wizards, none of y'all are safe.
Exactly. That's
Patrick Ewing played for the Orlando Magic.
Joe Montana
got sent to Canada.
Joe Montana played for the Chiefs. So yeah, anything can happen. All right, well, let's go to the phone lines real quick because we got Tobias holding on the line. We'll get to him early today. Roll damn Tide. What's going on, Tobias?
Roll Tide, and Tom Thibodeau might want to update his LinkedIn profile now.
Or you could start it out by saying Roll Tibbs because he rolling, he out.
Yeah, but you know the thing is with that is that he's a good coach, but you know I complained about him being so stubborn that it was going to bite him in the tail one of these days, and that he's old school like Van Gundy in the league where everybody's evolving. You know, you got play. You see how fast paced these teams are playing now, and you still want to play the 1990 Knicks versus Heat offense. It ain't gonna work, you know. And you know, I believe that the roster is good enough, but his problem is also you gotta give people. You can't be so stubborn where you keep trotting out Kirk Heinrich out there, who's like the only white guy that ever left open intentionally, and it gives you a 0-0-0, still play 20-some minutes. You gotta give young guys a shot too to fail. It's what the regular season for, to give those young guys a shot. So I believe, hey, let's see what a new coach gives them. Hopefully someone with offensive mind and plays a little faster on offense so they get some easy baskets out there instead of saying, hey, Derek and Jimmy, take it from the top of the key and go for it when you got two other guys that don't even guard it. Let's go. You know? And
Tobias, let me ask you a question, Tobias. If Pau Gasol doesn't go down, does that change anything?
I believe it could. It might have, but at the same time, let's be honest here. Even when he was playing, you can see steals of them having Noah and Heinrich in the game, and they're not even guarding those guys. They just doubling Rose, Butler, and Gasol. You got two guys that's open who can't even make you pay for being open. And so, and that's the problem. It's his stubbornness. And that he also, let's be honest, it ain't the Menace. But if you're playing the Orlando Magic in January and you're up by 25, why are they still in the game? You know, why Jimmy Butler still out there, Pau Gasol, who's probably 35 years old? That's some of the things that's been like building with that team. Now the front office, they're no saints themselves because they can't even get along with Jesus right now. They hate every coach they hire.
You think
How long
because I
before-
keep hearing Paxton
Wait.
to come down and coach.
Yeah.
You think that'll be a good move to put Paxton down in the chair?
In my Jalen Rose voice, not gonna be able to do it. Can't do it. But you know what though? And like when you listen to this, and that's why I tell people, and y'all gonna laugh at me for saying this. People need to stop. I know David Blatt ain't the best out there, but you know one thing he's done? He's made adjustments. He's trusting guys off the bench to give him a shot. You know, Mike Miller didn't work out in game 1. He didn't keep trotting him out because he trusts him.
LeBron is telling him to do that.
But
right?
Then with
How long do
everybody
you think
ailing,
it'll
he
be-
don't have a choice but to give some chances up.
How long will it be before Tibbs has another job? Will he have another job before next week?
Here's the question with Tibbs though. If you New Orleans Hornets, would you want him coaching Anthony Davis who had injury issues and you know Tibbs will play him 45 minutes a night against like the Sacramento Kings?
See, but that's up.
talk about that
That's
going
up to you. Got to leave that onus on the front office. You get Anthony Davis some viable backups that can give him some spells, and then the coach don't have to, don't have to dog his man like that. I mean, you look at the Bulls situation. I know Jimmy Butler was playing a whole lot of minutes, but what was the alternative? I mean, I understand you said give some dudes some chances, but which dude should have gotten those chances? I guess we'll never know because Tibbs never gave him a chance, but it just didn't seem like he had alternatives that he could trust. And then the health of Derrick Rose was always a factor throughout his coaching reign. So I think he got dealt the short end of the stick. I'm a fan of Tibbs, and I can agree with some Bulls fans when they say, okay, it was probably time to move on. He's always beefing with management, and he probably has taken that team as far as he's going to take them. But there were circumstances within his reign that, I think Tibbs may have won an NBA title by now if Derrick Rose wasn't hurt for the better part of the last 3 seasons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His team,
So,
and then you throw together his best team talent-wise, and it's like all or nothing, and then they get to an important part of the season, and your new acquisition gets injured in the middle of the series. So it just never panned out for him on the luck side.
He had bad luck.
Yeah.
And see, my only criticism is, hey, evolve. The players change, teams change. Because I believe his second year, they could have beat Miami if Derrick Rose was healthy. He tore his knee up that year. I believe that was a team that could have beat Miami. But
and y'all definitely could have beat the Sixers in the first round if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I know, man. You remind me of that one. By where's Evan Turner at right now? But but and the thing is that let's have an alternative. I know Tony Snell's not going to be a great player and make the All-Star team. But you mean he couldn't give you 10 minutes just to play some defense? He's 6'7", long arm, can hit an open shot. Kirk Heinrich ain't doing it. So you might as well see what he has. Because once you need these guys, some of these young guys like he and Mirotic are scared to even mess up one time because they're back on the bench. Sometimes, I'll give you an example. Greg Popovich evolved over the years. It used to be dump it down to Timmy, dump it to the big man. Now
Tibbs may evolve. Like this may have been the job where he learned and made his mistakes because remember, he acted somewhat as a defensive coordinator when he was coaching for the Celtics and won the championship. In our chat room, it's funny because Skyview says that Doc Rivers will probably offer him a job back as his defensive coordinator. But this is his head coaching job. He'll learn from this and then make it better. A lot of times, if you look at coaches, and I noticed this,
need to be next.
It's throughout every sport for the most part that coaches do a lot better their second go round. Because they learn what they can do, what they can't do. This is his first. I mean, and for it to be his first head coaching job, I think he did a great job. Now,
he did a good job.
I also agree with Dev. Sometimes it's just time to part ways. Like the message isn't being heard anymore. You're taking the team as far as you're going to take them. And sometimes it's best for both parties, not just the Bulls, but Tibbs himself. This might be ideal for him. I mean, this dude was living like under paranoia. He moved out of his house, lived into a hotel.
Coaches thought their places were being bugged.
It's time to roll out at that point. You know what I mean? So, we'll see what happens. I think that he'll definitely get a job at least as an assistant. But what he did as a head coach, he'll probably get another head coaching job right away. And we'll see whether he evolves as a coach because let's not forget about Popovich. Popovich is the man. He's a great coach. He has evolved. But let's not forget, Popovich was the GM and named himself the coach once he got the number 1 pick and had Tim Duncan. Okay, I got the number 1 pick. Guess what? I'm coming downstairs to be the coach.
Yeah, he cracked up. Who was there? Brian.
It was Brian Hill.
Yeah,
Brian Hill was the coach. Brian Hill was the coach. And, David Robinson got hurt, which isn't Brian Hill's fault. But then they get the number 1 pick. And he says, you know what I'm going to do? Brian Hill, you got I got David Robinson coming back.
Watch me.
Coming in here. I'm going to be the coach.
Right.
Hey, I got something to say. I know y'all got to go, but first, Cleveland. Stop. Grown men should not be in the hot tub. And I'm surprised J.R. Smith and have his Hennessy bought on him. And, but I just want to say, hey, thanks for the call, guys. And I hope Thibodeau lands on his feet.
Who you got? What's your prediction for the finals? We want to hear your early prediction.
And we can hear back from you next week. You can change it if you want, because these are just initial predictions.
First, if LeBron James on fire, I wouldn't even pour gasoline. I just let him burn. But anyway, I'm an angry Bulls fan. But I think Team Light Skin is going to win this. And it's funny that the light skin guys are harder than the dark skin dudes on Cleveland. You don't see Clay and Steph in a hot tub chilling.
The Elder Barge backcourt gonna take it.
Yeah, I think it's a 6 because everybody keep talking about like how LeBron guard LeBron, but here's the thing. You can't hide Kyrie on this one. There ain't no Kirk Howard to say, hey, chill on him. There is no whoever the hell plays for the Hawks.
You taking the Warriors? You taking the Warriors?
Warriors. I think so because think about this. I tell you how it's going to work, how it's going to happen. Golden State's healthy. They got more depth. Also, let's be honest here. You can put Shumpert on Steph. They ain't going to stop him. Then you got to chase around Klay Thompson all day. And then, you try to hide. You put LeBron on one of those guys. Now you're going to run him off the screen. You got to do everything on offense. You put Kyrie out there, he's going to get back down. If you got double trying to be a goon, Golden State got some goons that will hit you. And I'll say this real quick, and I'm gone. The Atlanta Hawks got to be the only NBA team where they can't get in the club VIP. They got to wait in line like us because they don't know who the hell these guys are. Who the hell is got Kent Bazemore?
That's why Cephalosha got beat up by the cops. They didn't recognize who he was. Them cops, well, they were in New York though, so the cops probably weren't Hawks fans, so it didn't matter. All right, hey, Tobias, well, thanks for your call, man. We'll get you back on next week so you can, just in case anything changed with your prediction, you can let us know if it's the same or if it changed. All right, so roll.
All right, take it easy.
Damn tips.
Take it easy, homie.
Take it easy.
Hey, Jimmy, before we get the mad scientist on the line and talk about this whole FIFA thing, because Tobias, he brought up the whole hot tub scene with the Cleveland Cavaliers. My biggest question about the hot tub scene, as suspect as it was, what the hell was your man, what's his name, Lil Mouth, Perkins? Why was he icing his knees? Why was he icing his knees?
Yo!
Like, how many minutes did he play that night? Why did his knees need
How
icing?
much of Kendrick Perkins' salary does he give back to Kevin Garnett? This should be like multi-level marketing. This should be like prepaid legal, because if not for Kevin Garnett, Kendrick Perkins would not continue to get a job. Then again, he's almost 7 foot, and the funniest thing in the NBA, we need to make
in the game on no team.
So we need to make our list, right? I got to talk to my brother B. We need to make a list of the best 7 foot bums on people's benches. Because if you go around the league and you look at the bench, all you have to do is be 7 foot. Like Nazi Muhammad still is employed.
Yo, he's still getting a check. Nazi wasn't a bum. Nazi had moves, but the back to the basket big man is kind of a dying breed. So there's not really much for Nazi to do because he's not athletic. He's just one of those guys. He could do some stuff in the post, but that ain't the kind of big men they look for these days. So it's like you wonder why he's still employed. Like I saw him on a roster recently and was like, yo, why is
That's
he
what I'm saying. If you got everyone's bench, there's always a guy 6'8" or above who's just in the league because he's tall. Like I didn't realize to the end of the series that Elton Brand played for Atlanta. Like
I know. Until Horford got kicked out of that game and he had to come shoot free throws.
I'm like,
but
at the end of someone,
you said Perkins owed his whole life to Kevin Garnett. I think when he goes in to the house every night. He probably walks past a mirror like, anything's possible. Like, I am a 7-foot piece of feces on the basketball court. All right. Well, let's we're gonna talk about this whole FIFA corruption scandal, and to do that with us for a few minutes, man, we got the mad scientist of sports, Nick Ficcarelli, in the building. What's going on, Nick? How are you?
Okay, so let's see. We got this over here, we got this over here, we got this over here, and yet the one guy in the middle of everything is still untouchable. Will someone explain to me how this is humanly possible? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to enlighten you here on War Room Sports about the FIFA corruption scandal. This is something that has been 3 years in the making, and it started in the Eastern District of New York with Loretta Lynch. She was given the opportunity to go ahead and build a case that led up to yesterday's raid in Switzerland. Now, was it coincidence that Loretta Lynch is now the Attorney General of the United States? Was it coincidence that all these people that were under indictment were part of the CONCACAF region? For those that don't know, CONCACAF is the North American region. $110 million in bribes to set up the 2016 Copa America that could take place in the United States. You have 2 FIFA vice presidents, a Brit and a Costa Rican, that were trying to get money to get the World Cup going to, England or somewhere in South America proper. And then after that, we have other guys that were formerly on the FIFA board, and we have all these outside interests that were also part of the indictment for, marketing, quote unquote, by the way, quote unquote, marketing the World Cup and everything, in which everybody seemed to get a piece of the pie. And yet, throughout the whole thing, all the pomp, the circumstance, all that, the one guy that needs to be taken in through the paddy wagon and back has yet to be taken away. And that's the guy that tomorrow may get voted in for a 5th freaking term as the president of FIFA. Wait, now the guys from the European Union, known as UEFA, and Michael Platini, going, "Oh, I want your resignation. Oh, we're not going to vote for you. Oh my God, woe is me, woe is me." Hello, have you not noticed that there's 209 nations and you only make up a quarter of it? Don't you know that Sepp Blatter has enough people in his back pocket that he doesn't care? Don't you know that Sepp Blatter was like, "Go ahead, take me in. I'll take the best attorneys I can possibly buy, and I'll run this into the ground. I might die before I go to prison." So Blatter will talk and say, "Oh, this is perfectly fine. This is exactly what we wanted, blah, 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 blah. This is cleaning up the game. Everything happened under your watch. And you're going to get away. You may end up getting away with it," which is the most sickening part of this whole thing. Now, the other part of this, though, which may be the one that finally takes Sepp Blatter down, is that Switzerland, the Swiss consul, is doing their own investigation into the 2018 and 2022 bids for the World Cup. Now, if something gets found there, and all the dots lead back to Blatter, you hell know that something is going to happen. Now, I don't know if they're going to have a revote for 2018 and 2022. Personally, I don't think it could possibly happen, because I don't think any nation given the amount of time, we'll get ready for the 2018 World Cup. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. There happens to be a nation that has everything pretty much at the ready infrastructure-wise for soccer stadiums and football stadiums and everything like that. Oh, stupid me, the United States of America. Oh, hello, England. Wow.
Right, well,
there's something for you.
This situation is really interesting because we've heard whispers about FIFA and corruption for years and years and years. And for anybody out there who might be living under a sports rock right now and you have not a clue what we're talking about, we all know that. We know you might not know, but
it's disgustingly bad. Let's just put let me put it to you like this: there's been corruption in FIFA for years upon years upon years upon years. Every time there's a scandal, though, it seems to get swept underneath the rug. What needed to be done was what happened yesterday. Something big needed to happen because all of the corruption scandals that took place in the past, were like, oh, okay, it's the nature of the beast. Oh, okay, it's FIFA. They'll get they'll sweep it under the rug and conduct business as usual. FIFA is
Nick,
one
hold
of the
on.
most
Wait 1 second. Let me finish telling the people out there who might not know exactly what happened because some people we're assuming that everybody knows. So like Nick was saying yesterday morning, in Zurich, Switzerland, plainclothes police entered a 5-star hotel, which was the site of this week's annual FIFA's annual meetings. The officers went to the front desk, got room numbers for everybody, headed upstairs and arrested 6 FIFA executives. Then over in the United States, in New York City, the Justice Department yesterday unsealed a 47-count indictment against 14 defendants, including a lot of FIFA executives, sports marketing executives, and owners of broadcasting corporations. Now, what they're accused of doing is basically taking bribes for television rights to air the World Cup and other international soccer tournaments. And as Nick was telling you guys, Attorney General Loretta Lynch has basically said this has been going on for 2 decades, dating back to like 1991. And they've been exchanging money in the tune of about $150 million throughout this whole thing. And like we said, we always hear whispers about things going on in FIFA. When they awarded Qatar the 2022 World Cup, a lot of people, that led to reports of vote buying. So, people was thinking that, that's how they actually got the World Cup over in Qatar in 2022, because there was a lot of money, a lot of bribery involved in getting that done. So that's where we are. And Nick, you can continue to tell people, what it is about FIFA and, some things that they've been allegedly doing in the past and why this doesn't surprise or shouldn't surprise people in the least bit.
It's not allegedly. It's been done. That's the thing. And it's been so far out in the open that people these days just shrug. Like, oh, well, that's the nature of the beast. That's FIFA for you. Of course, people are going to buy votes and buy broadcasting rights and stuff like that because everybody and their mother wants a piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
This indictment may be the beginning of the end for the old guard. And the old guard, I mean Blatter and all his cronies. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what about Michael Platini, who's the head of UEFA? What about the guys that are going to be going against Blatter but dropped out? Luis Figo, and this guy that's going into the election tomorrow, and everything like that. The only way something will happen is if Blatter gets voted out, and if everybody gets unbelievably spooked about what happened, because the eternal optimist in me wants to say this. What is in the back of the minds of all the executives and the head of the nations and everything like that, of the soccer nations and everything, like, oh my God, what else can come out? What if someone flips? What if my name is going to come out? that will put the fear of God into everyone. And the eternal optimist in me was like saying, if that happens, Blatter will be voted out, everything will be hunky-dory, everything will get done. There might actually be some sort of reform or everything like that. It all depends on the vote. Because I will say this, if Blatter gets reelected again for a fifth term, the only way that FIFA will be cleaned out is if Blatter gets indicted. Because if not, this whole thing, and I'm sorry I'm going to say it like this, but this whole thing, it's a good start, but it's never going to end until the head of the dragon is chopped off.
So you believe
and until that time,
it has to be gone for the old guard to basically be totally removed.
The whole guard needs to be wiped off the face of the planet. They have to be wiped off the face of the planet. No, I don't mean it. I don't mean it in that way. They just need not to exist in FIFA anymore, because as long as the old guard is there, it's business as usual. That's what it is to me. It's business as usual. I will discuss this more in depth on Saturday night, as everybody knows, which I'm going to shamelessly plug my show.
Let them know.
At 11:30 p.m. the last part of my show, I will be dedicating a full 30 minutes to this FIFA scandal. And you will be damn sure that I will let everybody know my thoughts, my feelings, what needs to be done. I will actually have a couple of soccer writers on with me, and I'm trying to get my good friend David Spellman, who's an attorney that deals in sports law and everything like that, who's one of the... He pretty much makes Roger Cossack and Lester Munson look like law students. Let's just put it like that. So, with that being said, gents, I know you got the rest of your show to do. Thank you for giving me this amount of time to talk about the FIFA scandal. But I promise you, Saturday night, when you listen to me further, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll talk to you.
Okay, real quick before we get you off, Nick, initial predictions on the NBA final.
Golden State in 5.
Golden State in 5. Okay, we'll talk about that some more next week, because we got a whole 7 whole days before it takes place. So everybody, just like the mad scientist just told you, his show, if you want to listen to it live on Saturday to hear him talk about the FIFA scandal and everything else going on in sports, you can check him out at Blog Talk Radio. The show was called the Mad Scientist Sports Lab. Look it up. You will find it. If you happen to miss him live, if you can't listen at 10 p.m. on a Saturday, you can catch him every day, every episode of his show on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. Just go to our website and click on the network, or you can go directly to WRSPN.com and just look for the Mad Scientist Sports Lab. Nick, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. All right, Jim. Let's real quick, let's do our stat of the week before we get into this NBA finals talk. And everybody out there, we want you to call in. We want to hear your initial predictions. Like I said, we can probably do this again next week, but we want to hear your initial predictions. So get on that phone line. The number is 323-410-0012. Just press 1 when you prompt it, and we will try to get to you and get your predictions on the NBA finals. Jim, before we do that, go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, Skyview and Casey Mack both pointed out that Brendan Haywood is sitting on the Cavs bench. So he's one of those guys.
And supposedly he don't even like LeBron. Remember, he was with the Wizards. He's to give him quote unquote hard playoff fouls, and they supposedly had a rivalry, but the Wizards never won. So I don't know how you call it a rivalry. But yeah, Brendan Haywood though. I got Brendan Haywood bobbleheads in my house. Don't ask me why. So I'll always be a fan of his. He's my favorite 7-foot bum. But the stat of the week. Since we're going into the NBA finals, the stat is an NBA playoff stat, and it is a LeBron James stat. LeBron James, he surpassed Michael Jordan in his latest game. He has 52 playoff games with 30-plus points, 5-plus rebounds, and 5-plus assists. That list is MJ at 51, who's second, Kobe at 37, Jerry West at 35, and Larry Bird at 32. So, LeBron is in and has surpassed some really, really good company. Basically saying his all-around playoff performances, numbers-wise, have been pretty good. Besides Jerry West, LeBron still has some catching up to do in the title department. So you're putting up these numbers. It's time to put up some banners. Time to get one in Cleveland so he can catch up to the likes of Michael, Kobe, and Larry Bird if he can get one this year. So what are your thoughts on that little statistic?
One title in Cleveland equals 3 anywhere else.
Right, so he catch them all with one title in Cleveland.
It just goes to show that this is his time. Like, we can say we want about LeBron, but he's the best player in the world. And, this guy's going to his 5th straight NBA Finals, meaning that he's played a lot of playoff games. And he's an all-around good player. Like, he's not a guy that's going to score 30 and only have 1 assist and 3 rebounds. He's a stat stuffer. That's what he does. So this isn't shocking at all. And the fact of the matter is, by the time he's done, he's going to be he might have 100 of these.
Yeah, I think I was in shout out to JT over at Rank Top 5 Sports Talk in Chicago, because I was in his Facebook group today and I saw a graphic with this statistic on it, but they added something else to it because, Chicago fans, since, Cleveland's in their division and LeBron before Bolton to Miami was in Cleveland. Now he's back in Cleveland. He's their rival. So he's not really liked too much in Chicago circles. So they showed this statistic on the top half of the graphic, but they showed another one on the bottom half. And the top of it said they showed this, and that was, LeBron leading in that category that we just spoke about. And then at the bottom it says, but they didn't show this. And what they didn't show, of course, there was a Michael Jordan comparison. 30-point games in the playoff, Mike has 109, LeBron has 53. 40-plus point games in the playoffs, Mike has 38, LeBron has 10. 50-plus point games in the playoffs, Mike has 8, and LeBron has 0. So they couldn't even let my man live with his his new record.
And to you Chicago folks, right? I'm not a LeBron fan or LeBron protectionist, but statistics, they definitely lie. Because I can give you one right here. At the age he is now, 29 years old, LeBron James has more points, more rebounds, more assists, more steals, and more blocks than Michael Jordan. He also has 2 titles at this age. At this age, Mike only had 1 title. Mike had 2 MVPs. LeBron had 4 MVPs. So LeBron's not done, and nor am I saying that he's better than Michael any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, you can pull stats out to make anyone look superior to anyone.
Right.
By the time Michael Jordan was LeBron's age now, Michael Jordan didn't have as many championships or MVPs.
Is one thing I don't like about those age statistics, though, because they throw them out there, but they don't account for the fact that cats
didn't go to college.
Yeah, LeBron and Kobe and those cats didn't go to college, so they got about 2-3 extra years to do statistics. Mm-hmm. Now that's just the 4 MVPs. That's different than just points. Like when you say he has more points and rebounds, there's context to that. But 4 MVPs, that's 4 MVPs. And Mike could have won more. He could have won more than 6 MVPs. We kind of know how that went. But
but there's context to it. But the one thing I can say about that is, even though LeBron had all those years, in terms of total number of games, he had a lot more. I'm looking at the graph now because this has Michael and Kobe.
That's what LeBron. You judge. Yeah, that's what you can judge it by, like the number of games. Yeah. Like if he's beating Mike at this point with number of games, then age didn't really matter, especially when you come out of high school, because a lot of dudes come out of high school and they don't get that playing time right away. Like Kobe, his statistics suffer over the first 3 years of his career because he went to a team that was already ready. Had he gone to Charlotte, he might have had some of these LeBron type numbers, but he went to the Lakers. So LeBron came right in. The thing about it is, captain.
I'm looking at this. The game's just not far off. But my point is, you can use statistics to make anyone look superior to anyone else. But the fact of the matter is,
point anyway,
Mike finished with those numbers and Mike finished with the 6 titles. But all I'm saying is, by the time he's LeBron's age now, he didn't have 6 titles. He didn't even have as many titles as LeBron has. Let alone LeBron is going to his 5th straight finals, and I mean, that's like on some Magic stuff. People forget Magic went to 9 finals. He only played 12 seasons.
That's crazy.
But Magic also lost 4 finals. Yeah, Magic lost to Isaiah. Magic lost to Michael, Bird, and Dr. J.
But at least, you know, Magic, he's won more than he's lost. LeBron has to get to that. LeBron has to get over. Yeah, Brian got to get over 500 in NBA Finals if you want to keep going to him. Because at some point, it is amazing to go to the finals year after year after year. But at some point, you're going to have to start winning them. If he loses the finals this year, you know what I'm saying, he'll be 2-4. So he'll have a big hill to climb just to get to 500. And, you know, you're not getting younger. And even though LeBron is like the Terminator, you know, he doesn't miss time. He only really missed time, in my opinion, because he wanted to rest. But at some point, Father Time is going to start catching up to you, and those injuries are going to start kicking in. LeBron has been the man from day one. Like, he stepped in Summer League in Cleveland like this.
Hey! Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Like, I'm the captain now.
No doubt. He definitely has. This is his time, man. But let's jump into all the NBA talk. And for those who may have been living under a rock or just don't know, the NBA talk is brought to you by Fanatics for the best in your favorite team's merchandise and apparel. Just shop Fanatics. Shopping Fanatics is easy. Go to our site, which is warroomsports.com. Look for that Fanatics logo on our main page or click on our sponsors page to see Fanatics as well as our other sponsors. But by clicking on Fanatics, you can get the latest in NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, NCAA gear, and more. Shout out to Fanatics for their support of the War Room. Let's talk basketball.
Yes, we do.
The NBA Finals are set. As we said, the Golden State Warriors and Cleveland Cavaliers are going to the finals. This will be interesting just for both cities because the Warriors haven't won, and God knows when, and Cleveland hasn't won a championship ever. So it's interesting.
The city of Cleveland hasn't won a championship since like 1964. The city.
That's true too. Yeah, outside of basketball, the city in general, anything. Yeah, that's a good point. So this will be interesting to see. In terms of those cities, what will happen. But just looking at the games, man, the one thing about it is there's so much time. You mentioned earlier, there's so much time in between games, and that's a good thing because there are so many injuries on both sides. You got the light-skinned brothers both having concussion-like symptoms, whatever that means. Isn't that a concussion? That's like saying, yo, I got like AIDS-like symptoms. Like, come on, man. Like, yo, anyway.
You got that monster, homie.
Yeah, but what do you think about this finals? Will this be a good finals? Is it a good matchup? What do you think about the matchup we have?
I think it'll be a very good finals. I mean, the matchup, of course, you have injuries, especially on the Cleveland side. You know, Kevin Love won't be a part of this. Kyrie Irving, luckily, like I don't know if we're going to be able to give Kyrie Irving that much of an excuse because the fact of the matter is we have 7 whole days before this thing even starts. So in 7 days, Kyrie Irving could be as close to 100% as he's going to get. So I think the matchup is going to be a really good one because LeBron James, we know the heavy lifting that he does. And when this team gets in trouble, he kicks into his superhero mode. So even if, you think the Golden State Warriors are the superior team roster-wise and depth-wise, talent-wise, you always have to be leery of number 23 over there in the wine and gold because, he's the best player in the world, even though Steph Curry is the MVP of the NBA this season. We all know LeBron is the best player in the world. So just having him on one side, it makes it can either tip the scale or it can balance the scale when you don't think Cleveland has a chance. And their role players are rolling right along right now. Shumpert's playing great. J.R. Smith is playing great. Like I said, the rest will be good for Kyrie Irving. Unfortunately, they don't have Love. Tristan Thompson is out there, rebounding on the offensive side of the ball, giving the Cavaliers second shot opportunities, every chance that he gets. So if you pair that up against the depth of the Golden State Warriors, I think we're in for a pretty good series. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because some of the moves made in the course of this season is pretty much what propelled Cleveland to this point. Tristan Thompson took a bet on himself and not taking that contract because he's earned himself more money. He's definitely giving them energy, doing his Rodman impersonation. So Cleveland is coming in playing good ball. Golden State is, that team right there is probably the deepest team in the league. And it's going to be a great finals in my opinion. And here's why. Like, on a fundamental level, we watch sports, and I'm talking about all sports, baseball, basketball, football, to see stars do things that just seem impossible or things that from an athletic standpoint were just amazing. And this has a lot of star power. If Atlanta was to somehow make the finals, I don't think that, it would have been the same thing. But you have LeBron, Mr. Nike, Mr. Samsung, the guy who's in front of our face all the time, and also the best player in the world. And then you have the guy who's, now is being put in our face,
he's a new face,
Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. And I blame Chris Paul for all this, for allowing that commercial with Steph going up and him going down, because that's pretty much what happened since that commercial got released. It's going to be a good final. I mean, Steph is becoming a household name. It's funny to see people become household names because we love sports. So we watch sports, specifically basketball. Playoff time is nothing like it. But when I start to just navigate throughout the world and you see people who are casual sports fans, they know who Steph Curry is now. Like, this guy has made himself a star. I tell you, at the beginning of the season,
my son knows who he is.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry is becoming a household name. So that's great to see. And I think we'll have a phenomenal series. It's one of those things back in the day, right, where you used to watch the Bulls play. And people will get mad or disagree when I say this, but a lot of those titles that Michael Jordan won, he didn't have the best overall team. Some of those teams were better than his teams, but the fact of the matter is he was the best player, and his teams made plays at the right times and won those games. So it kind of reminds me of that. Like, even if I go back to Magic, this couple of the series they won against the Celtics had a far superior team, but sometimes players can elevate their game and help their teammates elevate. So it'll be interesting to see whether LeBron can do that, because if I look at both teams, I think that Golden State has the better team.
Right. You make a great point, Jim, because no matter how much, purists, laud teams that play the ultimate team game and no one guy is above the team and this and that, you think about how many times teams like that have actually won the NBA finals. You look at the finals now, and you talked about the star power. It's not only the star power as far as getting butts in the seat and viewers in front of the TV, but this is the type of sport, only 5 men play on the court at one time. So if you have a transcendent star or more than one of them, like, it gives you an edge because their impact on the game is just much bigger. Like, you look at a team like Atlanta, like you said, like, I never thought for 1 second that Atlanta would make it to the finals, or if they lucked up and did that, win the finals. I never thought that could happen, because NBA basketball, especially, you know what I'm saying? When times get tough in NBA games, ironically, this being the highest level supposedly that you can play, ironically, all fundamentals go out of the window. And it's about, who has the best player and what that player is going to do when it's time, to get it done. And when you have LeBron James on this side, and then you have like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and a few other guys on the other side, this is the a matchup that once the season was going on, you could easily see this matchup. Atlanta, people try to compare them to like the San Antonio Spurs, but no matter what you say about how great the Spurs play together and how they move the ball and how they play as a team, they still have and have had since 1997 Tim Duncan, and then they got Manu. Tony Parker, who became a star. So they play great as a team, but they had some guys that were stars.
They have Timmy at one point. You could throw the ball in the post to him and get a bucket. Tony Parker at one point was a guy who clear it out, and Tony Parker seemed to get into the lane more than anybody else in the league. But that's the thing about it, and that's what's going to make this series so unique. because of all the star power. But like you said, it's also the two best teams since about the All-Star break. I think I was looking at a stat that said that Golden State came into Cleveland and beat Cleveland, but at the time, that was right before they got J.R. Smith and Mozgov, and LeBron was hurt or, took a night off. Since that time, these two teams have the best record, but actually Cleveland having the best record since that time. If you look at Cleveland's record, like pre and post trade, they've been one of the best teams in the league since they got this team. So it's like people say, well, Golden State had the best record from start to finish. They did. But if you look at Cleveland's record since they got, J.R. Smith and Timothy Mozgov, they actually have the best record with this current team. They were rolling. You know what I mean? So,
real quick, did you say that the Celtics were far superior to Showtime? Because we got a guest in the chat room who's taking an issue with that. He said the Celtics were far superior to Showtime. Think not.
Well, see, now you got to listen to what I said. Listen to what I said.
So if you're a fan as well, you need to call in and tell him about itself.
What I actually said was, I didn't say the Celtics were far superior to Showtime. That's not what I said. What I said on a couple of those finals that the actual Showtime won over the Lakers, I said the Celtics had the better team. I didn't say they were far superior to Showtime. I'm talking about on any given season, because now, again, you have injuries, you have all kinds of things that come into play when you watch those games and those series. When you look back at that series, I didn't say the Celtics were far superior to Showtime. I said certain teams. You're talking about Showtime, which is a decade-long team, so to speak. I didn't say the Celtics were far superior, and that's not what I said. I said specific series, and I said the same thing about the Bulls. I said the same thing about several other players who were able to elevate their team and beat teams that were the superior team in that series. That's the point I was trying to make. And by the way, I am a Lakers fan. So there's no way I would ever say that the Celtics overall were better than Showtime, because in my opinion,
I asked. I was like, because I read it and I was like, did Jimmy say that?
In my opinion, nothing
bias. Even let him say that.
And part of it could be my Magic Johnson bias, Paul, because I'm a huge Magic Johnson fan, and you look at some of those Celtics teams, and Scotty would say they're bigger at times, but that's all part of it in the playoffs, especially those days. But my point in saying that was Magic Johnson was able to elevate a Lakers team, which probably shouldn't have won that year, to win a series because of his play.
Yeah,
you look at the series in which Magic won the Finals MVP. I mean, even if you look at the Magic Johnson in the Sixers
they shouldn't have won. They shouldn't have beat the Sixers when he was a rookie. Especially after Kareem got hurt. They shouldn't have.
And after Kareem gets hurt, but that was the point I was trying to make. A shout out to the guest, but that was the point I was trying to make. Even if you look at that Sixers series, which Magic was a rookie and won the Finals MVP, he elevated his team with his play. And I was just saying that if you look at the Cavaliers, you make the analogy of the Cavaliers in the Warriors series, I think that the Warriors would have a better team overall. But I'm interested to see whether LeBron can, do what I've seen Jordan do or what I've seen Magic do and elevate his play to where it doesn't matter whether they have the best overall team. That's the point I was trying to make.
Like I mentioned earlier, LeBron is a scale balancer because, he has that mode that he can go into where it really doesn't matter how well the other team is playing or how, superior, quote unquote, they may be talent wise. He's still the best player in the NBA. I don't like to say that whole best player in the world thing because people just say that like we know who everybody in the world. But you get my point. You think it's like a blue 7-foot Navi player with a handle somewhere? Yeah, he's somewhere, and he probably ain't got shoes to wear, but he probably get it in barefoot somewhere over in Senegal. but we'll never know because he's not on TV, so we just say LeBron's the best on the planet. But it's that kind of situation. But I want to know what you think, Jim, about the injuries. I mean, we know Kevin Love's not walking through that door. LeBron has had his little nicks, and he's been exhausted because he's playing so many minutes because he has to. Kyrie Irving is a little banged up, but like I mentioned earlier, they do get a full week before this series kicks off. So do you think that, nagging injuries, I mean, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, somebody could easily get hurt, but do you think these nagging injuries are going to impact the series, or, Or are we going to say, okay, we got to throw that excuse out of the window because they had a week to heal and a week to rest? Like, do you think that's going to play a part?
Have you even seen Kevin Love since he got injured?
Kevin Love don't want to be there.
Yo, it's like so obvious. Now, people will get pissed at me again when I say this. I think the Cavaliers have been playing better without Love because Tristan Thompson has been able to get more time, and what he brings to that team and level of toughness. And also they got the little thug, Dellavedova. I actually like Dellavedova. I'm a fan of Dellavedova because I find it hilarious that he plays that hard. And we'll get into that. But and shout out to the guests in the chat room. This is the injuries haven't affected the Cavs at all. I think they play better personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think they, it's really cliche, and I'm kind of tired of hearing it myself. But they've had that next man up. Yeah, they've had that next man up mentality, and you have Kyrie Irving, one of the top 5 point guards in the NBA, sitting out, and they're still winning playoff games. So I don't know if that's, if full credit should just go to the level of play for Cleveland, or is it an Atlanta thing? I mean, they had a few injuries as well, but they still ran into a situation where, okay, as well as they played throughout the season, when it came down to nut check time, they didn't have that one player that could step up and try to match the intensity of what LeBron James was bringing on the other side. And we know the type of player LeBron is. Once he gets rolling, his teammates kind of get rolling because he's never afraid to make the pass. Now, LeBron in the last few weeks has played. He has played the most inefficient brand of basketball that I've ever seen him play. And it's been a topic of discussion throughout the playoffs. But I'm sitting here like, how long are people going to still discuss it? Because even though he's done that, they've gotten big wins, and here they are in the NBA Finals. So, okay, you might not be used to LeBron doing that. You're not used to seeing it, but it's not hurting the team. Like, he shot 34% when he had that monster triple-double, but he still impacted the team to the win.
Here's what's funny about that, right? Here's what's funny about that is before we came on the air, we were talking about Bill and Beer saying that LeBron James is a better basketball player than Michael Jordan, right? And I wouldn't expect Bill Laimbeer to say anything else. And I'm not mad at him for saying it either. But the funny thing is, when you like a lot of these older guys, when you talk to them, they love LeBron because he is like a pass first guy. He's so unselfish that a lot of the great players love LeBron. And anybody who's a baller loves to play with someone who's a pass first person. I mean, that's just what it is. When I was a kid, that's what attracted me to Magic and the Lakers, because he was able to dominate a game without having a gun and score 30, 40 points. But to watch a lot of these older guys talk about LeBron, they blush over the fact that he's pass first and is still able to get his 30 points. But it's just amazing, how all these guys that, whether it be Kobe or Jordan, whether they went through, kind of take shots at them and then use LeBron as the example. See, if you did such and such like LeBron, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm. Now,
it's kind of amazing, man. Yo,
as far as the injuries,
I was going to say, Rob, call back in. I know Rob was trying to get on the line. Rob, call back in.
Just about to go to the phone line, and I think he hung up. As far as the injuries are concerned, though, that's Atlanta. I don't think Golden State is that team that you're going to beat if Kyrie Irving is not out there on the court, because he's going to have his hands full with Steph. Even though most of the time they're probably going to have Shumpert or somebody foul. I don't know. It's going to be difficult for them to hide Kyrie in this series because, Golden State has a lot of threats. So it's going to be difficult for them to try to, hide him on somebody that's not going to score, because they have several people who can put the ball in the basket. If you don't want him on Steph and you want to throw Shumpert on Steph, who are you going to put him on? You can't put him on Klay Thompson because he'd probably dominate him. You definitely can't put him on a bigger player like Green, because Green will take advantage of him. So Kyrie is going to go out there and have to earn his money. So it should be really interesting to see.
Let me get your opinion on this. Something that I've seen online all day. Actually, I saw someone make Tony Dungy's name a verb. They said that Mark Jackson just got Tony Dungy. The fact that he's no longer their coach and now they have a chance to win the title without him, even though he was there for the building process.
He was a little emotional last night too.
I don't think that he had GM duties because I know that him and the GM were beefing.
Right.
But anyway, so what do you think about that? Is he being Tony Dungy?
I don't know, man. I mean, people are gonna say that, but I don't like the Golden State Warriors were on the rise, but I don't know if their rise, I don't think it was going to be as meteoric as it's been from last year to this year. I want to give Steve Kerr a little bit of credit. I don't know if if Mark got Tony Dungy or if Steve Kerr if he's the new Barry Switzer, because I don't really think that. Like because I heard that comparison today, and I look at the Cowboys under Barry Switzer, like that team was just without a doubt the most talented team in the league, and they were just so dominant. Like Golden State is really good, had a great season, got 67 wins and the number 1 seed, but anybody who's going to sit here and try to say that this is exactly what they expected, in the preseason before the season started, like you're lying. You're lying because I still didn't hear too many people picking the Golden State Warriors, 1, to get the number 1 seed, and 2, to advance all the way to the finals. So it's kind of difficult to say that. Like you have to give Steve Kerr some props. You know what I mean? You had to give him some credit.
In our chat room, Leroy says that Tibbs just got Tony Dungy too. Somebody's gonna come in with that Bulls roster and be right back in the mix.
See, that's the thing. The Bulls have the talent to win the NBA championship. The Bulls have been picked even this year. People picked, overwhelmingly picked the Bulls. For a lot of people, it was between the Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last season, a lot of people picked the Bulls contingent on the health of Derrick Rose. So if they win next year, then he truly got Tony Dungy. Or it's just a situation like we spoke on earlier. Tibbs just has the worst luck. You finally get a healthy Derrick Rose for the stretch and the playoff run, and then in the middle of a very important series, Pau Gasol goes down. So luck was just not on this man's side, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, and the thing about it is that's also contingent upon like who comes back, because we've seen that a lot of people are throwing money at Jimmy Butler, and if he leaves, I mean that's gonna be kind of crazy, right? I mean, because as guest 1441 pointed out in the chat room, like they can't score, and Jimmy Butler, raising his scoring average to 20 points this season. You lose him, you're right back in the position you were the year before. I mean, they didn't have that issue this year. They had about 6 or 7 guys in double figures. If you add Derrick Rose's numbers in, I think it's about 6 guys. Because I know that Powell was giving him about 19 a game, and Jimmy Butler was giving him about 20 a game. So
it definitely wasn't like
as
bad. It wasn't as bad as the past. Because they used to just lock down and they'd score like 35 points in the first half of a game, and you're like, "Why am I watching this?" So it definitely.
And that's the thing. Like between Powell and Jimmy Butler, that's like 40 points a game that the Bulls had this year that they didn't have before when Rose was in the playoffs in the MVP season, and it's like he was the only person that can score. But if you lose Jimmy Butler literally led the team in scoring this year. So if you lose him, it's going to be an issue. So we'll see.
And I didn't even think that was a question until you read about possible issues between he and Rose. Now, it's really the ball is in the Bulls' court because he's a restricted free agent. So if they had planned on, if somebody offers him a crazy contract and the Bulls, had it in their mind all along that they were going to keep him, then they're going to match no matter what he gets. I mean, we already know that whether fans, media heads, anybody, if we believe or disbelieve that somebody's a max player, it doesn't really matter because it only takes one team to offer you the max, and they're going to leave the ball in Chicago's court because they can match any offer he gets. So I see him being there, but it depends. It still depends on how much stock they keep in Derrick Rose being that franchise player. Because if the little rumblings we heard are something really serious, and you still believe Derrick Rose to be a megastar, then I guess they do have to listen to his feelings, or if they have to take into account what he may think. But I don't think whatever happened, I don't think it was that serious. And I think they'll match whatever anybody
We'll see,
gives.
because
They have to, man.
I
'Cause,
know,
like,
I read, but I don't know how true it is, that the Lakers were like, trying to make him a max offer deal.
Right.
And that may be tempting if you look at the Lakers with him, with having the pick they have, with having, the young team they have. So, but at the same time, if the Bulls want to match it, they can match it. But it all depends, like you said. If him and Derrick Rose don't see eye to eye, it's like they're gonna have to choose a hometown guy or
Well,
hey,
I think they're
right
both
now
hometown
they don't have a coach.
I think they're both hometown guys. Hometown guy or hometown guy. Take your pick.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Now, here's a point that I want to ask you about that Leroy just brought up in the chat room. He says he's looking at Golden State and he doesn't think that they're battle tested. They have had no adversity. Memphis gave him some adversity. I
think Memphis gave him adversity. You can Jimmy, you can even go as far as to say if Tony Allen doesn't get hurt, that could have been very interesting to see, what happens at the end of that series. I think Golden
Tony
State
Allen was locking up Clay. He had Clay locked up.
So I think it would have been interesting. I wouldn't go out on a limb and say that I just totally think that Golden State would have lost, but I think it would have been more interesting and it would have appeared to most fans that, they had more of a test than it seems like at this point. At the same time, when you say that, I guess having LeBron James and all the playoff experience that he has, I guess, like we said, he's the scale balancer, because if you look at it, nobody from Cleveland is really battle tested either.
Exactly.
So besides LeBron,
Cleveland's battle tested but LeBron.
I guess that's more
share in the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess that's much more than what's over there on the Golden State side as far as test and experience. But
here's the thing, right?
LeBron, you got to carry those guys.
He says that Golden State skated. They didn't have to play the Spurs, or OKC, or the Clippers, any of those guys. But I mean, you only can play who's in front of you, and those guys lost. You know what I mean? So you only can play who's in front of you. They played Houston, Memphis, and who they play in the first round? They played Houston, Memphis, and who was they played in the first round?
Golden
Dallas?
State?
No, not Dallas.
They played the Pelicans.
Pelicans. Yeah, the Pelicans.
Yeah, they played the Pelicans.
So they played the Pelicans.
I mean, you can say. I mean, they did. Interestingly enough, they probably skated the bigger test, but then you got to look over at Cleveland. I mean, they play in the Eastern Conference, so the whole conference is one big skating ring. Their whole conference is one big skating ring, and the only real competition that they had, Pau Gasol got hurt during the series, so I mean, not Pau. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the. Well, he did. I mean, Pau Gasol got hurt during the series.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that's like, that's the biggest competition on paper that they were supposed to have. And, that series started out, very good, and things happen. I mean, I'm not giving the Bulls an excuse by any means, because, Love is gone. Kyrie's been banged up. Like I said, LeBron's been carrying such a load that he's been exhausted. So nobody gets excuses. But at the same time, we're saying they skated. Mm-hmm.
Guess 1441 made a point that Chicago lost the game where Kyrie was hurt and LeBron only scored 15. And I said during that game, I said, this is over. Like, it's like you had your opportunity and you let it slide.
At some point, you realize when a team's spirit is broken, and their spirit is broken. Just like the Houston Rockets and against Golden State. Like, at some point during that game, you realize, okay, their spirit is broken.
Dwight Howard says he is still a champion regardless.
He said that for real?
Whatever that means. He actually said that in the press conference. He said, I'm still a champion. But
of pop locking at the what?
Another question from Leroy in the chat room. He says, Golden State, will they be the first jump shooting team to win an NBA championship?
For me to answer that question would be for me to give predictions, and I'm I'm not ready to give my initial prediction right now.
Understood.
But I can say that it's possible. I think that they've gotten themselves to a point where the label that we give them doesn't even matter. They're there and they have a really, really good chance to win the series. So I say, yeah, they can be. They definitely can be.
The thing about it is, when you watch them play, they are a jump shooting team, but it's not as much as people make it out to be. They do run plays to the post.
Yeah, they can do other things.
Yeah,
and they play
we
defense.
just
Like their finesse makes people forget how, they're dogs on defense. Like this isn't the Golden State that we're used to from spanning from
Run TMC.
a few years back all the way back to the Nelly days. Yeah, Run TMC, where they were just all flash, all offense, and nobody wanted to, sniff on the defensive end. Like this team, as a team, they're a great defensive team. And just some of the individual defenders that they have, like Klay Thompson is a better defender than I think a lot of people give him credit for. Green, in my opinion, should have been the defensive player of the year. I mean, you got Iguodala coming off the bench, for God's sake. He's been a defensive player of the year candidate in prior years. He definitely been on some all defensive teams. So you just have some. Bogut is a really good defender. So people forget, because of the flash and the 3-point shooting and Steph breaking ankles out there, they forget how good this team is defensively. And I think that's going to play a big part of this season, in this series, because you have a few guys that you can throw at LeBron James. You got Draymond Green, you got Andre Iguodala, you even got Harrison Barnes that you can throw at him, a little while. And if some spot duty, you might even see Klay Thompson take a shot, when other people are getting a blow. So they have guys that they can throw at LeBron. We always know with LeBron-led teams, you gotta do well on the other guys, because LeBron is the type of dude who makes wide open shots for other guys. So as long as they defend, those role players might come back down to earth if because they're going to play better defense than the Atlanta Hawks did. So those role players might come back down to earth. Like I'm still waiting for that 3 for 20 from J.R. Smith. He's been playing lights out, and much credit, much props to him. But I'm still waiting for that 3 for 20. It's going to come. And the fact that it hasn't happened already just means it's going to happen at the wrong time in the wrong series. So we'll see. They're going to go back to New York Knick mode, and Cleveland going to be real upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This will be an interesting series. I'm looking at the arguments in our chat room about jump shooting teams. It's interesting, man, but they're well-rounded. They're definitely a well-rounded team.
Speaking of, man,
I mean,
are you ready to give?
I can't wait for the series, but it's like so funny because we have so long to wait.
I know. Are you ready to give Steph the title of best jump shooter ever? I've seen these arguments recently, and I usually laugh at things like prisoner of the moment type things, but I watch this dude and I'm like, he can get that jump shot off in so many different ways, and he's so quick with it when he needs to be quick with it. It's like even I might be starting to drink that Kool-Aid, man. And we've seen some great jump shooters.
I don't want to.
In our day. Even his dad was a great jump shooter.
I'm like anti-prisoner of the moment so much that I don't want to. Like I
know you just don't want to do it because you're like, I have to be forgetting something in history.
But it's out of control. But I know for a fact, in terms of his ability to shoot a jump shot at his handle, there's never been a combination like that ever. I mean, I've never seen it, and I also studied the history of the game. I don't know anyone that because it's to the point where every time he lets it go, I think it's going in. He's one of those guys. I mean, there've been a lot of great jump shooters in the past. The
closest thing to his overall offensive skill set as it applies to getting off your jump shot in different situations would have to be Ray Allen. But even Ray Allen, as his career went on, he kind of turned into that spot shooter standing in the corner. Ray Allen came in, like his handle was nasty. He could break you down and shoot the J. He could get it off the pass. He could get it off the screen and shoot the J. But, as his career went on and Father Time started rearing his head, Ray kind of turned more into that spot up shooter, especially playing on the teams that he played on.
Do you think that Ray had anywhere near the handle that Steph had? Because Steph's handle was just ridiculous.
Yeah, Steph is yo-yoing it now. I mean, Ray Allen to me, has probably, and I used to say this a lot early in his career and midway through his career, I think as a shooting guard, he might have the greatest skill set, overall skill set of any shooting guard that we've ever seen. Now, that didn't lead to production as a shooting guard, because we all know Kobe's better, Michael's better. There's a lot of people that's better. But if you're just, say if you're a scout and you're just looking at, you're not looking at names, you're just looking at, and we're not talking about NBA scouts, because by the time you get to that level, it's about the name. But just say, you know, you're high school, college, you're just a scout, just looking at skill sets. This guy doesn't have this big giant name yet. Like, Ray Allen could do it all. Like, his handle was really, really nice for somebody 6'5" and up. We all know about his jump shot and the ways that he used to get it off. So, but Ray, he was that dude to me. He just never had that dog in him. He, you know, he didn't.
Here's what's interesting to me.
Hate losing enough. So his skill set, I don't think he ever fully opened that toolbox. I don't think he ever used every tool in his box. And that was always
shout out to Jesus Shuttlesworth. But here's my thing.
Yeah, Jesus was that dude. Ray Allen, not so much.
Like, guess 1441 says Steph has elevated his game to unstoppable. I don't know about that. I mean, it's close, damn near close to it. But the one thing I will say is this: I didn't see this at all. I mean, I remember we were having debates about whether or not he'd be able to be a starter in the league. So I can go on the record and say I didn't see this in terms of being an MVP. In terms of like, he's taken his game every season he's been in the league to another level. And, you know, Chris Paul gave him the major cosign as he, you know, like I said, went up the escalator, and Chris Paul went down in their career to the same thing. Like, this guy, I'm just so impressed with his work ethic, because the guy that he is now, he wasn't when he came in the league. I mean, he was a man in college. They almost went to the Final Four at Davidson. But with that being said, still we're debating about whether he can start in the league.
You keep talking about the subliminals in that commercial. I wonder if Chris Paul knew that State Farm was playing him like that.
Yeah,
State Farm probably playing.
I remember I actually the first time I said that on our radio. I said that on our show when I first saw it. I was like, I don't know about that. Like, if I'm Chris Paul and I'm a State Farm guy, we got to do this the way. Like, he probably didn't think nothing of it. But
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He just thought like, all right, I'm just acting, but I think there's some subliminals behind that, man. Like,
and shout out to Sebastian Curry for showing his face the other night when Steph hit his head. We saw Sebastian come back out and finish the game. But it's amazing. It's amazing to see Steph elevate his game like that, because we all remember how deadly of a shooter his pop was. But he has that in a yo-yo that's just crazy. I mean, he gets his shot wherever he wants to. He gets in a lane. Like, he takes shots that you're like, and then, like, you know, amazing player. And, you know, shout to him. I can be honest and say that I didn't see this at all. If you would have told me that he'd be an MVP in the league, you know,
right.
It's
like you said,
lights out shooter in college. I agree, but I thought maybe he'd be a specialist, like just a shooter in the league. You bring in like a 6-man or something. Like, you know, I didn't think that he'd be
because there's two things. There's two things that will keep you in the league. If your J is wet, or if you play great defense, that'll keep you in the league for 12, 13 years.
Or if you're 7 foot, you may not play, but you'll stay in the league.
Yeah, but MVP. Like, if I'd like to meet those people who claim that they saw this for Steph Curry.
I don't know anyone who saw this coming. I've talked to a lot of people, professionals, about basketball, but you know, it's amazing to see, man. Let me ask your opinion about this, because we talk about Steph and how elevated his game. Another great comment. Shout out to guest 1441 for chiming in. He has a lot of great comments. He says, it's obvious that Steph works on his game in the summer. The NBA is the only sport where you can tell a player who works on their game. And it's funny he says that, because, and I look back at the game, like, you know, watching from a Larry Bird to a Magic Johnson, they always came back from the summer with something different. I remember when Magic added the hook shot into his game, and everybody was like, what the hell is he doing?
Kobe was one of them.
Kobe as well. You know, a lot of those guys who come back.
There was only a few guys, Jim, who didn't, but could get away with it. Allen Iverson was one of those guys. Just God-given talent, whole career. But it probably came back to bite him, you know, late in his career, when he doesn't want to come off anybody's bench, and he's, you know.
I mean, look at Michael Jordan. His patented move, he didn't have that. Damn, so he just said it as I said it. His patented move, he didn't even have.
I was about to say that popped up as you were saying it. But yeah, you're right. Like you could tell Mike every year he came back with something different. The good thing about that is the players in today's generation today's generation and the generation right after Mike, because I would say like 2 has gone by since then. You can tell the people who care because they take things from people like Michael Jordan and they incorporate it in their games earlier in their career. Like even Kobe, you know, we all indict Kobe for stealing every single move Mike has ever done. Me, I never mind because if you're gonna try to be like somebody, try to be like the best. But you can tell, like, Kobe was a young dude in the post doing the fake and the fadeaway and stuff, getting that stuff from Mike. So, as it goes on, the guys who like to work on their game, they like to throw some of that old head stuff in their game, do what they do, and come back with something new every year. You know what? I used to say this back in 97, 98, 99. I was a Sixers fan. I was a giant Allen Iverson fan. But I actually used to say, probably for the first 3 years in the league, I actually used to think that Steph Marbury was a slightly better player because he would come back with something new in his game every season. And then Steph got his little reputation and his whole thing just fell off. But and we know the heights that Allen Iverson went to after that. But for the first maybe 2 summers, they came back. I was like, Steph is in front of this dude because Steph has something new with his game every single year. And then AI, his God-given talent just couldn't be, you couldn't.
Yeah. In our chat, they're talking about players who didn't add anything. Shaq was mentioned, Slight Coward, as we like to call him. We no longer call him by his government name. We call him Slight Coward, who hasn't added anything to his move. But I'm laughing at Leroy McConnell because he brought up a point which is hilarious. Like, Dwight Howard has like Hakeem Olajuwon and Kevin McHale as guys that can be his mentors, and he still has no move.
They live in your city. Kevin McHale lives in your locker room. He lives in your locker room. These are the guys with some of the best footwork the NBA has ever seen. Best post games. I think it's just his body type, man. He's one of those players, that's another thing they took from like the Michael Jordan era. Like Michael Jordan lifted weights and Cat saw that and I think went overboard with the weights. Like the Dwight Howard is just too diesel, too robotic. Yeah, he's too robotic. And so it's like, come on. Yeah, you got the dream down there.
Pistons was throwing him around before Mike started lifting weights. Mike lifted weights to survive.
Yeah, Dwight.
And you can't tell me, speaking of AI, AI is like a punching bag in this stuff, but AI looked like he never looked at a weight room.
Yo, AI left, ate tacos, constantly, smoked weed, and drank. Probably on game days, like Mike used to say, he used to work out on game days in the morning. AI did all that other stuff on game days. Come in, score 40 points, not go out the game. And if you go out the game for 30 seconds, he's cursing Larry Brown's name. So it's like, how did he do this? Like God-given talent.
But you know what though, man? This just goes to show you, man. Like, what's the saying? Because you mentioned Kobe and Mike, man. I think it was Pablo Picasso. Good artists copy and great artists steal, man. So you got to steal from the guys that came before you. And the other cliche, hard work. What's the hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard or whatever that is? Because shout out to Steph Curry who started this whole conversation because, they're in the NBA Finals at this point, and he's a major part why. And shout out to Riley Curry as well. But the fact of the matter is, man,
you said that though, because people, Jim, are trying to count Steph as talent now when you probably should be giving him more credit for hard work. Yeah, because you wouldn't count
shout out to Del Curry too. Shout out to Del Curry because it's obvious that you were a great father or you were in their life because they got the same jump shot you had. Well, there's other side of that jump shot too, but he didn't have the talent that Steph had. But
I think Del Curry had the quickest release I've ever seen, and I've
ever seen. Yeah, shout out to Mrs. Curry for all kinds of other reasons.
Yeah, shout out to her.
So shout out to Miss Curry.
Shout out to her for just being there on the sideline for the television cameras to follow.
But you know what though? Let's not even give our picks yet. We talked about it enough. We're going to give our picks probably next week and also probably on a Court Vision because we definitely got to get out of here. But we're definitely looking forward to this series. Shout out to the guests in the chat room will keep everything going on. But we definitely appreciate that, man. But
Thank you, guys.
thanks for joining us in the War Room, people. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. We appreciate it. And the people on Facebook and Twitter who chimed in, we appreciate that as well. The calls who chimed in, we appreciate that. Those we couldn't get to, we're sorry about that, Rob. Check back with us next week. Special thanks to the mad scientist, Nick Piccarelli, for joining us to talk FIFA, because we really had no idea what was going on in FIFA. Tune in next week, same time, same place, live right here on demand on the WRS Podcast Network for more great sports talk. We'll talk NBA Finals. It'll be starting that evening and much more. So until then, enjoy your week. We'll see you right back here next time. Catch all of our conversations on Facebook and Twitter, which is at War Room Sports. We also have our blogs, our webcasts, and all of our network shows. And you can find all of that at warroomsports.com. So go to warroomsports.com and check out everything we do. Don't forget that mobile app, iOS and Android. You also get all of our content there. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we'll see you chumps on top.
Chumps on top.
6 to 8. Yeah. War Room Sports. Y'all ready? Let's go. Stay in tune to Jimmy. Know the blueprint. Yo. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Doc Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Yeah. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like Magic in the box course. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop scholars, pit stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dev, DJ, Jack Beck, B. Austin. I'm Jack. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.